So am I. I didn't sleep again last night.
Hey,
Hey, man.
Jeremy.
Hi, Bradford.
Long time no see.
I know it's been quite some time.
Wow, just completely went brain dead. What is it? Episode 24.
24.
Episode 24. That's
That is 6 months worth of stuff if you go by weeks.
a long time.
That's a long time.
So let's do this. Let's welcome everybody to the Briggity Bro Bobs Running Podcast. I'm Bradford.
I'm Jeremy Ferd.
I guess that's it. That's the welcome.
Briggity Bro Bobs. Now, we can
Your
go.
face, it looks like it's about to explode.
High effort, man.
It looked like it.
It's early for us.
Let's ask everybody. I think after 24 episodes, it's fair to ask. Subscribe, hit the like button. I think that's what you're supposed to say. Do it.
That's what you're supposed to do. And start following us on the other Instagram or other stuff like Instagram
TikTok.
and TikTok. That good stuff.
Do it.
Do it.
Or else Jeremy's going to karate chop you.
You've seen what I can do.
I want to give you a quick recap. So I left your house Sunday night.
Yeah, I drove you to the airport, dropped you off Sunday night.
Planes canceled. So get a hotel in Norfolk or Virginia Beach, wherever I was.
Norfolk.
Get a hotel. As soon as I get to the airport the next morning, delayed flight again.
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 Monsoon season.
It seems like it. And then automatically miss my connection in Charlotte. So then get out about an hour late out of Norfolk. Get into Charlotte. I've got a 6.5 hour layover. Grab a rental car, spend the day in uptown Charlotte. Got some work done. And then flew out yesterday evening. I think I flew out at 6:30.
Yeah.
We get into Cleveland. It's like a blizzard. So
What?
we can't even land. We circled for about 30 minutes waiting for the runways to clear.
Jesus,
we land. We're skidding all over the place.
Just like that, huh?
Yeah, that's what I felt like. And then we land. I get to my car. I'm in a covered garage. My car, the snow's blowing into the garage. My car's covered in snow because I parked like by the wall.
Yeah.
And then what should be about a 27-minute drive home, just an hour and 40 minutes.
Jesus Christ, right? That was the longest trip. I apologize. Maybe
For
you
what?
shouldn't visit me anymore. Because that's just bad luck all the way around, man.
Man, it was unbelievable.
I mean, we thought we made out. We were like at the race. We're like, hey, man, we missed the rain. Well, you didn't miss it.
Of all of the things, I'm still glad for the fact that I didn't have to run in the rain. I'd rather put up with the travel mess and not run in 40-degree weather and rain.
For an hour instead of having to take like an extra day?
Yep. It was so bad that Stephanie called me and she's like, you may just want to get a hotel by the airport. Like, the roads are horrific.
But you just wanted to be...
Yeah, and up to my neighborhood, there's this giant hill that's like one of the last roads to be plowed. And so in a front-wheel drive Honda Accord, I was like, I might not make it. And this is going to be infuriating if I get all the way to within a mile of my house and have to stay at the hotels that are 1.5 miles away.
You could have run back, Bradford.
I was pretty sure that was going to be the case, that I was going to have to stay in a hotel 1.5 miles from our house.
But you didn't. You made it home last night.
I'm back. This is as dedicated as you are for getting up at 4 a.m. It is now 8:00 on Tuesday morning, the
Yeah,
day of our podcast release, and we're
that's right.
recording because I wasn't home
That's
last night. I wasn't home
yeah.
on Sunday. We
Nope.
got no time to record. Here we
I've
are.
been I've been awake since 5 o'clock this morning, waiting for you to reach out to me to let me know when we're going to record.
I don't think that's why you were up at 5 o'clock,
No,
but
it's not. But I have been up since 5. Pretty
good.
sleepy. And you called me last night, and I apologize. I didn't answer. I was asleep. I'm sorry.
Horseshit.
I mean, I was a sleepy boy.
So let's do a race recap, Jeremy. We raced
A race
10K Sunday,
we did. Trail race.
a trail
So
race.
we found out. We didn't find out yesterday or like this weekend it was a trail race. We've known it was a trail race. But Brad has some kind of aversion to trail races for whatever reason. He's like,
Yep.
I don't know. I want to do a trail race. Can we find
Nope.
something else? And there was another option. It was a 5 miler, which
Yep.
sounds actually pretty cool. I think I might do it next year. But it was sold out. We
Sold
checked
out.
like 15 times just to see if it wasn't sold out anymore. Because it would have happened on Saturday instead of Sunday, and we were afraid of the rain, but it just didn't work out. But this race, this 10K did. Um, so there were three different races going on at the same time on this trail. There was a half marathon, which I think was the most popular of the options. It just
Yep.
seemed like everybody was out there doing the half. Then the 10K, which I think was the least popular over the options, and rightfully so. The 10K is just a stupid race. And then the 5K was out there too. But obviously, we were out there doing the 10K. When we got called up, the guy's like, anybody who wants to break 50 minutes. And I look around and I look around because I wanted to break 50 minutes, and I start going up to the front. And then two like 9-year-olds go up to the front as well. And then the person who ends up winning, she's like, I'm not going up to the front. So she like behind me.
Yep.
And then everybody else, everybody's like, no, you go, you go, you go, whatever. Um, so that was the start. I don't know, Brad. Like, I felt, looking around, I felt pretty confident, to be honest, that I might be able to win the race. Well, that didn't happen until I saw the girl who actually ended up winning. We took off. The two boys, the preteens, teenagers, whatever you want to call them, took off. Like
They
there was
were
like
going out sub 5 minute pace.
it was crazy. They took like I was like, man, I must be really jogging. They just went like
Yep.
out probably 50, 60 meters by the time we even made that first little cut in into the trails.
One of them
Like
made it about a half mile.
yeah, and then he was he was walking, he was holding his sign, he was like, oh. But the girl who ended up winning, like she was in front of me, I don't know, 15, 20 meters ahead for quite some time, probably, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile. And then she started slowly like pulling away, pulling away, pulling away. And then there was a guy right behind me in this red shirt, and we'll come back to him later. Ah! Just the loudest runner ever. I'm like, please stop like snorting and hooting and like I thought he was dying. So I let him get ahead of me for a little bit. But anyway, so the first 5K, I felt crazy good. I was like, man, this is great. I was running way too fast. Like I wrote a check my butt couldn't cash for that second half back. But so my first 2 miles were 7:21, 7:21. And then my third mile was 7:15. And I was like, man, I'm just getting
Flying.
faster. It feels like easy. And then we get to the turnaround, which happened to be a little bit long, we come to
It
find.
was long. It was long. Yeah.
Um, and at this point, I'm solidly in third place. I'm not going to catch. Well, I don't even think I'm going to catch. I don't even see the people who are in front of me any longer. I saw them when they were coming back, and I was still going toward the turnaround. But at that point, I was like, let me just maintain maybe position third. Because the guy at that point, he had fallen back. So I'm coming back, and I see Brad. We pass each other, give ourselves a nice high five. He's looking strong as hell. And away we go. And after the fourth mile, I think I ran 7:32 or something like that. I backed it off a little bit, but I was like, ooh, my body just started to feel lethargic. Like it's just like
Yep.
it all caught up with me at once, and I started feeling real sorry for myself. And then up comes this red guy, and the guy in red, not a red guy, the guy in red, and he goes by me. He's like, "You're a good runner." I'm like, okay, thanks. I was like, you too? And he goes, and at that point, we were kind of battling back and forth. And at that point, I never caught back up with him. Um, Fifth mile again, somewhere in the 7:30, 7:40 range. So I was really feeling it. Sixth mile, I get to this hill and I'm like, nope. I'm like, I look behind me. I'm like, ain't nobody there. So I walk for like a minute.
Oh my
My
God.
legs were on fire. My like heart was like bursting through my chest. I'm like, what is going on? I felt so good not even 20 minutes ago. Well, that was it. So my last mile was like 8:38, I think. Just
Wow.
demoralizing. And then I finished 48, 30, 42, 48, 42, which I was pleased with considering it was like quarter mile long.
Yep.
Uh, but, overall, I think it was a good effort. I was stupid. I feel bad about that last like 2 miles. I really just kind of shat the bed that last 2 miles. I feel like truly I bitched out. Like it just is what it is. Like the mental toughness wasn't there. Nobody was behind me that was going to catch me. So like I think if it was more of like a race and there was like more people around me, perhaps I would have done better. But that's who knows. I just didn't do well the last 2 miles. But I'm pleased. It makes me excited for the half. Um,
And what was your goal coming in? Like,
I
what
just
were
wanted to
you
break
hoping to run?
I thought if I had a good race, I could break 50.
Okay.
And that's like right at 8 minute pace, which I was pleased. I ended up running 7:37s for an average, which is faster than even I thought my A race would be, which I thought 7:40s would be like a bit of a stretch. But I got it. So, I can't complain. The weather was great. It was overcast. I was probably a little overdressed. But I'm glad it wasn't raining. I'm glad it wasn't hot. I could have done with like 10 degrees cooler, but
Yeah, it got warm at the end of the race.
I was like my shirts were just I was just like covered in sweat. But I enjoyed that race. I might do that race again next year too. Well, if I do that 5 miler, I wouldn't do that one. But if I
You
go out
could.
next year, the plan is to maybe win it if I'm fit
Mm,
enough. The 10K anyway.
that'd
So,
be
what
fun.
about you, Brad? So, like, that's my long and short of it.
Pretty long, but
Oh well, so that guy in red, I
yep.
come through, I finish, right, and he was like, "Man, you're a good runner for a big guy." I'm like, I don't even know how to take it. I don't even know how to take it. Like, are you saying that I'm fat? Are you saying like that big guys can't run? Like, what are you trying to say? And I don't even think I'm that big of a guy. Like, I'm just shy of 200 pounds. Like, I know I'm bigger than most average people, but like, I know he's trying to be nice about it, but like, just say
I
good
mean, I
job.
think I one just say good job.
That's it.
And
Nice run. That was tough. Something, whatever, like, but don't like bring somebody's size into it, you asshole.
yeah, I was listening to I think it was Ice T. Is it who's is Ice T a person?
Yeah.
Is
Yes.
he the
I
actor?
believe. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Ice
Well, it
Ice
just
Cube.
seems weird, like iced tea, that like a drink.
Well, Ice Cube, like he's gonna melt. You put him out in the sun or in the drink, and it melts.
So Ice T was in an interview and he goes, like it's okay for you know black people to identify with each other. It's okay with fat people to identify with each other. But if you're not part of a group, don't bring up anything about the group.
That's it.
And I think that's 100% applicable here. Like, just
He
say nice run. There was no need to say
Look. The guy had hair. He could have said nice guy for a big bald guy.
right.
Like you don't have to say that. Just say nice run, man. But
Seems would
overall,
seem fair.
the race was cool. Like it wasn't super populated. I mean, it did get a little
It
bit
got
log
it
jam.
got busy on the trails.
It did, especially when we like with the half marathoners going at the same time that we were, and we were just kind of going back and forth. I did get caught a couple times. There was a couple parts that were almost fartlicky, like where I had to like slow way down to let people go, and then I sped up to get around and all that stuff. So,
Right.
but it was fun. I really enjoyed it, and it was pretty well run. I mean, it was small. So
Yeah, I thought it was well run. I mean, I think the things that weren't good, uh, that turnaround was half-ass at best.
yeah,
So it was literally just in the middle of the trail, a pile of cones,
that was it. And
and they.
two cones right there that you went around and then you came back. Yep.
So, and I think in fairness, it looked like everybody was going around it as it should. But what would be the penalty to have somebody there?
No penalty. Um, I would venture to say that there's probably people who cheated. More than half, I would say, because you didn't have to run all the way out. You could have.
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
Wow. That is a bold accusation.
I'm just kidding. I'm pretty sure everybody went out. Like there was no stakes to this race. Like you're just out there to have fun. I
So,
got a
but
paperweight.
at the end of the race, you finished third overall in male.
Fourth. Well, third male and then fourth overall. The
Yep.
winner being that girl, that lady who won, like just dominated. Beat that young kid by 5 seconds. Must have just like come up on
Was
him
that
and just
it?
like outkicked him. What's that?
Oh, 4 seconds. Yep.
4 seconds. Five. I thought it was five, but four. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So
Yeah. So, I mean, that was a good race, Jeremy. I've got nothing but props. You threw it down. You went out hard.
I went
You
out hard.
maintained it until the last hill.
The last little bit, man. Dude, I felt so sad for myself. I was just like, dude, I suck. I was like, "Argh," just trudging. It was bad. It was ugly, but it's okay. So tell about your race, man.
The pity party came out on the last
The
hill.
pity party came out real hard.
There
Yeah,
was what? There was like 259 feet of climbing for us.
that's what I get for a month where I live. So it was a lot for me, but I mean, it really wasn't that bad. Like truly, it was rolling hills. The I guess it was a net downhill to start, and then on the way back up, it was more uphill. At
Yep.
least it felt much more uphill to me.
It
So
was the entire back half was net uphill.
yeah.
So we
So how was
basically
your race,
ran
man?
down and turned around and came back up. I am very happy with the race. We recorded some pre-race goals,
Yeah,
and I think in being fair, I've not had a huge opportunity to run after my knee surgery. And the first run back from my knee surgery was that, I guess it wasn't my first run back, but my first like effort run was the turkey trot,
yeah.
where I ran just shy of 4 miles at 9 minute pace.
Mm,
Maybe it was a little over 9 minute pace. And that didn't feel crazy hard, but it felt pretty fucking hard.
yeah,
And so my goal for the race was to just limit as much time as I could versus you. Anything under, like, my goal was to run fast, like average faster than what I did in the turkey trot. So I was looking at average better than 9 minute pace. I thought a really good race would be somewhere in the 8:30s.
yeah.
I ended up running, what did I run here? 52:01. 52:01, averaged 8:04 per mile for
That's a
the.
huge drop.
It was, I mean, I went out super, what felt like super conservative. I think you really, it becomes exacerbated as you get into longer and longer races, that first mile it feels like you're at an absolute crawl.
Mm.
And so at a half marathon, it makes it even worse. And in a full marathon, it feels like you're barely moving.
Especially if you're fit enough to run that pace, right? Like the
Right.
whole race.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So went out in 8:17, 8:02, 8 flat. The fourth mile, which seemed to take forever. The fourth mile there was just the absolute worst mile of that race. And I think it had the most hills. Like this, to me, it had the steepest hills. Like it was a difficult mile for
I
me.
think that's where I spent myself was trying to maintain that effort, and I think that's where I really lost a lot of time. That 6 mile was like that effort to maintain like that same type of pace really caught up with me. That's where I really started to feel lethargic was that fourth mile.
Yeah. So came back the fourth mile in 8:15, which I actually think in my overall pace, like it it was a difficult mile, but I maintained enough that I wasn't giving it back. Fifth mile, 8:03. And then I honestly worked what felt like pretty fucking hard in that mile 6. Ran a 7:59, and then finished it out at 7:36 pace for the little over 4/10 of a mile.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I was really, really happy with it. I was thinking pre-race, giving up something like 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes, is still doable to make up over the course of our next 2 races of a half marathon and a
In
marathon.
particular, the marathon. Yeah.
I mean, you figure 5 minutes in a marathon is, you're literally talking a few seconds per mile.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it's the difference between like a good race and a good like a okay race, right? Like
Yep.
5 minutes in a marathon isn't a lot.
No. And so I figured, okay, like, we've got to limit damage to keep it under 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I would, dude. If you were thinking like 9 minutes, like you would just like to be happy with that. Like, let's go back and do that, Brad. Let's go back and have you do that.
So I felt like if I can keep it under 10 minutes, that's going to be a good day. Anything that I'm chopping off under that, like, gives me a realistic chance to stay in this. 10
I
minutes was
think
kind of like the number where over 10 minutes and the whole year's over.
no, I don't think so. I mean, your PR for the marathon is significantly faster than mine is. I've only run like 3:19. Like
I
you've
know, but
run
you got to be
20
in
minutes.
shape.
You do have to be in shape.
Like, that's just all it is. And so many things can go wrong in a marathon. I think you can get away a lot with a half because your fueling doesn't have to be very. You essentially can go without fueling in a half marathon.
You
In
can.
fact, I've never fueled for a half marathon.
I don't know that I have either.
And you're running right up to the max limit of where glycogen depletion, like, if you're running significantly over an hour and a half, you need to fuel because at that point you're going to run out of glycogen, and you can
Yeah,
actually have a calorie bonk.
you love
Anything
that word, bonk.
calorie bonk. And so at an hour and a half, which I don't think is an unreasonable expectation for us, is you can get away with just throwing some water in your face. You don't need to worry about hydration. You don't really need to worry about calories. You pacing the whole race is going to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is a pacing component, but if you're in shape, you should be able to figure out a way to get over the finish line.
Yeah, for sure.
Even with mismanaging on some level your pacing. In a marathon, every single one of those things has to go right. You got to take care of your hydration. You got to take care of calorie intake. Pacing is super important. So you might make it through the half marathon feeling good. You might make it to mile 18 feeling good. Shit, you might even make it to mile 21 feeling good. But that's where the entire race can be turned upside
You
down.
could give so much time back those last 4 miles or 5 miles. Like you're
Yeah.
just like done. You're running 7:40 pace, and all of a sudden you're running 10:30 pace. And you're like, what happened?
If you're lucky.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, so when I had to, you asked me to record a video before the race. So I came down the night before the race and said what my goal was. And my goal was, I thought that I'd be able to beat you. I was like, I like, let me really think about this. And I said 3 minutes, and it came out to just over 3 minutes. I always know that you bring it, Brad. Like you just always do. I never think that you're going to run slow. You just, when there's competition on the line, like you're gonna put it out there. So
Thanks.
yeah, yeah,
I felt like in the race there was every race is like this. You come up to some key moments that kind of make or break a really good race for you.
yeah.
And so the first mile, I kept looking at my watch, and I kept looking at my watch. I've not even run close to 6 miles since the knee surgery.
Nope, me either.
And so I was thinking to myself, like, I really need to be careful in the first mile. And when I came through the first mile, I looked at the time and I was like, wow, look, this is a bit faster than I was expecting, but I feel relatively good. And so at that point, like I just said, well, listen, the rest of the race needs to be made up just purely on effort. Like, quit looking at your watch. You're gonna, you're gonna figure out a way to finish. just get across the finish line. And then, like now running 5 miles as a race, like put away the watch and just figure out, like you run off of effort.
Yeah.
So I think I did I probably left a little bit on the course, but like after coming back from the knee surgery, again, I'm super, I'm not happy to lose, but I'm super happy with the results. I had pretty much conceded the point of losing, and it was
Yeah.
how much time I could limit, and I was happy with it.
No, you limited a lot. But I mean, you running low eights really, like, you did yourself right by doing that, because I wasn't going to run. I didn't think I was going to run anywhere close to what I ran. I thought I was going to be where you're in your position. I was like, if I can run like 8 flats, I'm going to be fine. If I would run 8 flats, it would have been like a battle royale at the end.
Well,
Having to,
you had, I was thinking about back to it, so I high fived you.
yeah,
I just essentially hit, or maybe I hadn't even hit 3 miles yet.
I
You were
think it
at
was pretty close. Yeah.
you had already turned around, so you were coming back on the course. I give you a high five. I look at my watch because I was trying to figure out if there was any opportunity to make up time on you or to
Hmm.
reel you back in. And it took like 2 minutes to get to the fucking turnaround from there,
Yeah. You made
which
up a
means
lot of
that you
time.
probably had a 4 minute lead at the turn. And then I think you obviously made up some time in that mile 4, made up a little more time in mile 5, and then gave up time
I gave up a lot of
on that
time.
6 mile.
Yeah, like I thinking about it, if like I averaged, if I with that 6 mile the way it was, I would have been under 7:30s.
Right.
So I gave back a minute just in that mile.
Well,
Um,
no, I mean I ran just under 8. You ran 8:36.
but what I'm saying is, like, I gave up a minute of average time. Like, I gave up a
Oh,
whole
right,
minute.
right.
Like,
Yeah,
so if
yeah.
I would have been 47 and some change if I would have just run 7:30 like I like had been. So I gave up a whole. I added a minute to my time by running an 8:38. Like that.
So so you had a bit of a pity party out there on the 6 mile. Like what was going through your head?
um. So at that point, I was catching up with a whole bunch of 5Kers. So it was
Yep.
just kind of crazy, like going back and forth. And I just couldn't find a rhythm, to be honest. And I was like, going, I was just a pity party. I was feeling sorry for myself. I was feeling awful. Like my quads were burning, everything was hurting. But that's the end of a race, right? Like,
It
I
is, yeah.
don't know. I just think, like, I'm not mentally tough when it comes to long distance stuff. Like, if you put me in a short race, like, I know that I can do it. But a longer race, I don't know. I just like I always am self defeating. I'm like, oh, I can't push for that much longer. It just kind of gets into my head. I think for me, I know, like, we've had this discussion before, but like, I race toughness is something that I full heartedly believe in. Like, I know that if I were to go out there and do more races, like, I would get into the rhythm of being able to, like, internalize the hurt and be able to push through it, as versus like, oh, this hurts an awful lot. Can I maintain it? If I did more races, I would know I can maintain it. Um, so that's
So
kind of
it's
where I
like
was.
it's a self-doubt that you can't
Oh,
physically do it.
big dude. I self doubt myself on everything I do. Like, when I, like, even that the first 3.5 miles or 3.25 miles though out, right? I was just
Yeah.
like, dude, this is going to come back to bite me. Why am I running this fast? Just slow down. And then I was like, I was already in my own head. I mean, I felt
Okay.
good physically, but I was already in my own head. I was like, this is going to suck on the way back. So,
Yeah, so I was surprised at the time going out. It's funny hearing the mental differences. So on the way out was, like call it almost a minute faster than I was thought would be a decent race.
yeah,
And I kept saying to myself, well, like don't slow down. Like this, you might just get lucky. So,
right.
like I genuinely feel like I'm an eternal optimist in the races and or workouts or whatever it is, and thinking, well, why shouldn't today be the day? Like, so I always leave an opportunity in there that, okay, like I might just get lucky today. And I just might make it to the next mile and say, I still feel amazing. And then I
Yeah,
might make it to the next mile and say, I still feel amazing. And onward and onward and onward. And the last, any any race, whether it's a 5K or whatever it is, the last mile and a half is just going to fucking suck.
It does.
And so on my last mile, which I'm quite proud of the fact that it was the last mile was my fastest mile.
Yeah.
There were some hills in it. It was a net uphill. I think it was probably the second most difficult mile of the race. To me, the fourth mile was just excruciating.
Yeah.
And I kept telling myself on the fourth mile, I kept thinking to myself, like, oh, I chose to do this. Like I'm volunteering to be in this much pain.
Yeah.
So, and then when I realized, well, I'm the one putting, like, this isn't something being inflicted on me. I'm the one that's choosing to push to make it hurt this bad. For whatever reason, knowing that I'm in control of what I'm doing, then just eases the pressure off of me. And then it allows me to just kind of take in the surroundings and say, okay, like, if I'm going to choose to make it hurt, I'm going to choose to make it hurt, like as much as possible over the course of whatever it is. And so then I'm counting it down. Like, all right, I want to make it hurt for the last 7 minutes, 6 minutes, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, so
Yeah.
on and so on. And then in turn, I find when I get into a pity party, like, I internalize it so much that I do a terrible job at like, I feel like if I'm going to feel that bad, if I'm going to have a pity party, is when I start breathing like excessively bad.
That's
And so I'm
that's
like,
right.
ugh,
It's self-fulfilling
ugh,
prophecy. Like you're making
ugh.
yourself feel worse than you probably do, or you could push through. Like mentally, just like calm yourself down. Like
Right.
take 10 seconds and just like calm yourself down in the little race and you're gonna be fine. I know that. But I think I need to practice it more often. And that's where like when I say race toughness, that's where that comes in. Like being able to just like again internalize and say, okay, we're okay. But like
Yeah.
I like at mile 4 when I was starting to hurt, I was like, oh, I've got 2.5 more miles to go. This is gonna really suck for 15, 20 minutes, like 18 minutes. And I'm just weak, mentally weak sometimes, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
So I was happy that I kept saying, like, I'm doing this to myself. And then, like, when I caught myself, like, everybody has doubts in a race. Like, I don't care at what level, how fast you're running or how slow you're running, you have doubts of, can I make it through this? This hurts maybe worse than I was expecting. And so I caught myself in that with, like, probably a mile and a quarter to go, doing that, where I was then like exacerbating my breathing.
Mm,
And I think a part of it is to show everybody that it's hurting as bad as you are mentally making it feel. So, like, I think it's an outward projection that you want people to know how bad you're hurting and you're working. And
yep.
so then once I converted it back to, all right, like, I'm the one choosing to do this, it gave me an opportunity to then control myself. And then, like, and then I find in particular in the hardest moments, if I can control myself and just like smile. So for as cheesy as it sounds, smiling in the hardest moments, I go, okay, like, I've got this. And when I smile, I think to myself, all right, like, again, I'm controlling this and I'm going to make it hurt as bad as
Yeah.
I can. My entire body relaxes. Like, for me, it's just a good mental place to be to finish hard.
Yeah. That's good. Hopefully, like talking about this next time I get into a position, I'll like think back on our conversation and say, okay,
Yeah, I
smile.
mean, I think you have to have a pretty deep, uh, like, the same things never work race over race. And so, like, this worked for me this time. And one of the things that I think you have to do is be super adaptable or malleable, that, okay, like, that's not working today. What's the next thing? And what's the next thing? And I
Yeah.
think you have to recognize going in, there's going to be a period where you doubt yourself. And then you have to then be committed. I'm just going to figure out how to get out of it. So I know at some point I'm going to want to give up. I know at some point I'm going to look at my watch and say, well, like, maybe I should just walk it in. Like I think everybody. It doesn't matter the race. I've had it cross my mind in 1,500-meter races in college that I'm like, this is hurting so bad. Like, why would I continue? Like, what would happen if I quit? And it's happened in every marathon that I've ever run. At some point, it's probably happened in every single race that I run. It happened in the 5K that we ran,
Yeah.
and it
Oh,
and
dude,
it's
at 5K.
and you have to understand that those things are going to happen, and you you're going to have to figure out a way through it. Like you don't know what the way is around it, but you've got to figure out a way around it. So whether it's like what I did this week, or saying that like there's a million ways to get through it. You've just got to figure out what works for you.
Did you
Get
get
a
enough
new
of this
sport.
yet, Brad? Get a new sport. All right, give me some.
So we did a shakeout jog on Saturday. You
Yeah,
you ran a bit longer than me. I think I did 15 minutes, and then strides.
I
You
did
ran
25
25
minutes.
minutes.
Yeah.
And then would you recommend to anybody as the day before a key race going and playing basketball when you've not played basketball in
No,
who knows how fucking long?
no. I think part of the my soreness, because I was a little sore yesterday. I'm way more sore today than I was
Are
yesterday.
you?
I
Okay.
am. My quads are they're like going down the stairs this morning. I was like, ooh, that's some sore stiffness. No, don't go do that. Don't do stuff extra that you don't normally do. Um, but
So I would make the argument, um, like in particular with big races, would I recommend basketball and something that physical? 100% not. So, but if you can find something, whether it's going to a movie, like I would even argue laser tag or something to that effect. I know pretty much before every NCAA championship, an AU's team goes and does something, including 2 years ago or last year when they won, they did laser tag before
huh?
the day before the men's race.
They probably did
And
that this year, and that's what caused them to lose.
yeah, yeah. Oh, they were not beating Oklahoma State from the looks of it in any
No,
scenario.
no.
And so, but doing something to just get you where you have to be focused on something other than a key race, I think is it's a great idea to do. I'm not sure that
Yeah.
basketball is the right idea, but here we
No.
are.
Here
I
we
had
are, and
fun.
we had a lot of fun. And I have to say, Brad did not leave defeated from our endeavors. He kicked my butt in basketball. Like truly, it was bad. It was real bad.
I mean, and so that what a great segue without even knowing that we needed a segue, Jeremy. I wanted to bring up the next 2 points specific to that.
Okay.
So I figured for every point that I beat you in that is worth 10 seconds. So there's a 90-second clawback right
Get
there.
out of here.
No, I'm being dead serious. And then
I,
on top of that,
I had
on
an
top of
Elliot.
that, you gave me some awfully generous Christmas gifts, and
I
you gave them
did.
to me before the race.
We
And I
wore.
think what you may find in my pre-race talk without you is I wanted to give you a Christmas gift and give you a little bit of a buffer in the 10K. So you unwrapped it during the 10K, and congrats. There's your Christmas gift, Jeremy.
That you gave me 3 minutes and 18 seconds. I appreciate it, Brad. No, we wore my Christmas gift on the race, like the both of
We
us.
did. Yep.
It was
Uh,
nice.
run a rabbit, button down, short sleeve,
Yeah,
technical. Like I
it,
guess it was a technical top.
it's technical as far as I know.
Yep.
Um, Pretty sweet, man. It fits a little snug
It is
for
a
us big
racer's cut. That
for
is
us
a
big guys.
racing cut. Yeah. Oh
Yeah, for
man.
us big guys.
So now we are how many? Where our half marathon is coming up relatively fucking quick here.
It is like but I think we're both in a good mental headspace. Although I had a less than stellar last like 2 miles of that race, thinking about it like makes me think that the half marathon might be okay.
Well,
Um,
sometimes there's something good to knowing that everything wasn't left on the course because you think,
right,
okay, there's more in the tank.
right. And I think with us having like 12 weeks and some change, right, is kind of where we are.
12 weeks, 3 days from
Yeah.
today, Tuesday.
So I think that if I can add like this, I don't know if you even were going to go down this path, but if I could average what I average for the 10K, somewhere around 740, 730, 740 pace, that would be a really, really outstanding race for me.
It would.
Um, I think that would be like an AA race, which, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I'm ready to predict it, like to put a goal time on it, but I wanted to take a few minutes and talk about what you're planning on doing between now and getting you ready for the half marathon.
So as we haven't even mentioned my streak, I'm still streaking.
Did you
Thursday
run
makes
yesterday?
I did. Thursday makes 4 weeks when we come up on Thursday. So that'll be 4 weeks straight, so 28 days. Um, Feeling good. I'll go for a run later today. It's freaking cold here today. So, but I'm doing a Macmillan running plan. So I'm just kind of like going off that. And I know I'm not quite where I need to be to do it like wholeheartedly. So I will be doing some modifications to it. Like especially for the long runs, I'm not where the long run really has me being right now. So I'll probably
Where are
cut
you supposed to be for the training plan?
somewhere in like 80-minute range. So
Okay.
I'll be cutting off about, so I think on Sunday I'll go out for an hour. That'll be my longest run in quite some time. Get in probably 7 miles, like 6.5 miles ish, in that hour, maybe a little more, closer to seven perhaps. I don't know, depending on how I feel. And then start doing the workouts. So I think the right now it's got me working out once a week. Usually it's some kind of like um, paced effort as far as like the marathon goes. So we'll start there and see how it progresses. What about you, Brad?
Um, I mean, I think between now and the half marathon, I want to be somewhat careful in that this is a buildup for my marathon training session.
Yeah,
And so in turn, I really want to key on the long run. Because marathon training to me is just all about the long run.
yeah,
So you can do some workouts in there. Typically, all of your workouts are going to be faster than your marathon pace, your goal
hmm
marathon pace. And I don't really ever feel like the workouts give you an indicator or like uh, a mental boost that you can run a marathon at pace other than the
right.
long run.
The long run is like the key. If you struggle in a long run, like you're supposed to go out for 20 miles and you get to like 15 and you're just like spent and you're not even running like anywhere close to what you think you should be running pace wise, like it's so defeating. But a workout, yeah, like I feel glad I did a workout, but it doesn't ever tell me. It never makes me feel that I could go out and do like what I'm supposed to do in a marathon.
Yeah, well, and you can always rationalize it back because you're smart enough with running. So you do like Yasso 800s,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not an indicator of, like, it might be an indicator that you can recover well from high intensity efforts, but it's not an indicator of running 26.2 miles.
No, because like I think the two of us, like we came from being fast runners, like in college, and like it's just there. It's inherently there. I am faster than most normal than an average person is, and I'm not saying that to like I'm more speed oriented. So like running an 800 at 3 minutes isn't going to be as taxing on me as it would be for somebody else who is more like endurance based, and that 3 minutes is going to
Well,
be like
I
more of a
almost feel like it's this perspective is that at for a 3 minute. So the way Yasso 800s
too.
work is you run your goal pace. So if you're
Yeah.
looking to run a 3 hour marathon, you would run a 3 minute 800. And then what's your recovery? Is it equal?
No, I don't think it's equal. I think it's just a minute or something like that. I don't even know. Um, it's been a long time. I did them a number of years ago. I actually had a really good workout with them. leading up to my first marathon. I don't remember what the recovery is. It might be even.
So, but they say this is like the ultimate.
But you don't
So
even
it's
have to have like.
yeah.
Go ahead.
So it's 10 times 800. They say to do it on a track. And so, whatever you're hoping to run, if you're trying to run a 3 hour marathon, you would run a 3 minute 800. If you're
Mhm.
trying to run a 3 hour 20 minute marathon, you would run 3 minutes 20 seconds. And then 10 times 800. Yeah, so it's equal recovery here.
So that's just that, like again, but equal recovery is that's a long recovery, especially if it's something that's not like I don't know. It just doesn't seem like I don't know. Just thinking about it, it doesn't make me. You don't even have to be super duper fit to go out and run. Five. I mean, it's 5 miles, but it's all like broken up.
Yeah. And so I think where it's like a glaring weakness for somebody like you and me is you would just say, well, it's another 800 and you're willing to go incredibly deep to keep
Yeah. Well,
on the pace.
yeah.
And it's a level of deepness that, like with at mile 15, you can't be there in a marathon.
Not even close. Not
So
even
I
close.
would think it would be a really good indicator if it was like the easiest workout in the world. So, but you
Right.
and I assume, aren't going to
Would
look
do
at
it.
the workout in that fashion. You're just going to try to do
Well,
everything possible to get over in those allotted times. And
or
then it
even
says,
faster. Like
right.
if 3 hours feels too easy, then I'm like, okay, well, I mean, if this is supposed to be an indicator, and I go out and run 2:45s, like maybe I can run a 2:45 marathon if I really bought into it as wholeheartedly as it says.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's probably a good indicator for somebody. I think it's the worst indicator for you and
Isn't
myself.
isn't 2:45 somewhere right at 6 minute pace? It's
Don't know.
close, I think. I think it's pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, it's so weird because there's so many miles in a marathon that, like 10 seconds per mile, which sounds like nothing, ends up being a lot.
Oh yeah, it's just it compounds on itself. You feel great, you feel great, you feel great, you feel great, and then you give back way more than those 10 seconds you gained for each of those
Yep.
miles that you were ahead.
Yeah,
So
I also think there's a balance too. Uh, like if you go out too slow, there's going to be a limiting factor of you still have miles on your legs.
yeah.
Like any way you skin it, you've got 20 miles on your legs with you know, at at with 6 miles left, a 10K left. And there was like, oh, the race starts at 10K and you can make it up. Well, yeah, you can make up something. So, but even then, negative splitting the last 10K, I think is extremely difficult. So your legs have miles on them, and
Oh
were
yeah.
you all of a sudden going to go from running even even think of if you're running at 7 minute pace, how much faster 6:45 is for the
Oh, it's
last 10K with 20 miles on your legs. Like,
infinitely faster.
right. And so you can make up something. So, but I think like that adage of the race is the last 10K. It's getting there, and then you can make up a lot of time. I think
I
you can make
think
up some time, but there's
I
not a
don't think it's
miracle at the end of the
I don't
race
think
there.
it's about making up time. I think it's about not giving back time. I think that like you get through 20 miles, and 20 miles is kind of where like that threshold that people are like, okay, this is kind of where I hit the wall. It's about like at that point, it's not necessarily about making up the time that you need to make up. It's about not giving back any of the time that you don't want to give back. That's where the race is because it becomes quite challenging. And I don't know why 20 miles is that threshold, but it just seems to be like even for
I,
me, like all of my
it's
races.
it's interesting because it's everybody's mileage that it's somewhere between 18 and 22 miles,
Mm-hmm.
and so it essentially just gets rounded
To
into
20.
the 20 mile mark, and it's It's interesting because it's for slow marathoners and fast marathoners. So it's
Yep.
not like a time limit where you've run into a glycogen depletion
Right.
scenario. So because everybody would run into that at a different time because you're burning
Out there
calories
for,
based off of a
right.
time perspective versus your body doesn't know, okay, this is miles happening, but it knows effort over time.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I think when it gets to it, I'm gonna be like ultra conservative and just run exactly the pace. Not 1 second faster, not 1 second slower. I'm going to have a car right beside me
Mm-hmm.
at Grand Moss, just running the exact same time I need to be running the
I don't
whole
want to
time.
get too far ahead, but I am going to be interested to think what you think of the grandma's course because the first, I mean, really, it feels like the first 22 miles is flat or downhill.
And then the last
And then
like
at
4 miles is up.
I think it's mile 23 or 24, you go up what feels like fucking Mount Everest. And it's literally like a car overpass. Like it's
Yeah.
nothing crazy. So, but they
Yeah.
call it, I think it's called Sugar Drop Hill. So, because there's an ice cream shop or something on your
Oh
right.
yeah.
And then you get through that. And then you start coming into downtown Duluth. And with it's, I think it's just under a mile to go. Then you go over another overpass,
Oh
which
dude.
feels like you are just running like, I don't think it's significant, but that thing is fucking brutal at the end of the race.
It's just a feeding right there.
It
I,
is, yeah. And then you get over that and you think it's over and you just keep like meandering and meandering and
oh
meandering.
no.
Like, so I can't
That's
wait to see what you think of that. I remember because that was essentially right where the wheels came off. I saw Stephanie with a mile and a half to go, and she's like, "All right, you look great," and I hadn't made it past her before it just imploded.
and she's like, wait, I take it
Yep.
back.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then that home stretch was just, you think like, oh, it doesn't matter. At the end of the race, I'm going to be able to find a way to bring it in. No, no. Like, I
Yeah.
was ready to just walk at that point.
But you didn't.
I didn't.
That's
Well,
because you're
Jeremy,
tough. Bradford.
congrats. You ran one hell of a race.
So
So,
did you, man.
any way you skin it, you whipped my ass out there.
Well, I mean, if you didn't have knee surgery, you probably would have crushed me. So it's
I
okay.
don't know. I would hope that I would have been faster than I was, but
You
who
just never
knows?
know. You know, I mean, look, we can't see into the past, into the future, and
Well, what
into
I
the
will
now.
say, so we had made a gentleman's agreement. You were extremely generous in the fact that you said, "Well, we'll run this together. Like, let's not make it a race. You have
Yeah.
just had knee surgery." I am really, really happy that we ended up just racing it. One, from a personal perspective, I'm just glad that I had that effort instead of
Yeah.
you and I slogging around at 9:30 pace.
Yeah. That would, I mean, we would have had fun, but it would have been a different experience for sure.
Yeah. And then two, I'm just like over the course of a year, injuries are going to happen. Like an
Yeah.
amount of time off is going to happen. Like no one could control that I had a torn meniscus, and it's just like inevitably a part of training. And so I'm glad that we went back, called an audible, and just made this an actual race. I think it leaves the door open that it's fair, and it just makes it known that you don't get to control everything. You
No.
know, when you sign up for a race, sometimes you're going to go in and you're just not, you're suboptimal, and that's the way that it is. And so figure it out, deal with it, make the best of the situation. And so I'm happy in that regards that we just went ahead and made it a race. So
Yeah, it was fun.
whatever time you made on me, you deserved in the fact that you've made it to this point without being injured.
Well, right. Just mildly injured. Well, and look, so I was warming up like an asshole, and I put some kind of strain on my knee, and like the inside of my knee was a little bit sore. And Brad's like, "You tore your meniscus! You tore your meniscus!" It was like he was like thankful that he thought that
How's
I
it
was
feel now?
injured.
How's
It
it feel
doesn't hurt.
now?
It feels fine.
Well, you can use my ice pack.
Did you leave it here? Look, I've
I,
still got your liquid. I've still got liquid death, armless Palmer over here.
drink them.
I'm
Angel's
gonna.
got
Well,
my
your
Miracle
candy.
Cream, Ben Gay,
I
the
do,
Magna Life stuff.
and I've got your 17 bags of candy that you left here.
And I took half of it with me.
I know that you bought so much candy on this trip. Kenny's like, I don't even know what to do with all of this, and that's for our whole family.
Oh, and Jeremy, quick. We saw a movie while we were together.
We
Little
did.
little date night at the AMC.
That's right.
The Briggity
We
Bro
saw,
Bobs date night.
dude. We saw Thanksgiving. Eli
Wow.
Roth. It was. I love that movie. I think Brad's a little less amped on it. It's
I
just a
think you had to go into it with the. I was expecting like an actual horror flick, it being less campy, and
super campy.
and so I think if you go in with the idea, okay, like this is just like a for fun horror movie.
Yeah.
Like I had a number of laugh aloud moments. I just don't think that I went in with the right mental mindset to enjoy it.
No, I really enjoyed it the first time I saw it because I didn't know what to expect, so I didn't have any expectations of it. I went in and I just saw it and I was like, these kills are just ridiculous. They are just ridiculous. So I love that. And then I love the fact that Brad, when we were there, it's just amount of extremes. Not only did he
Man,
get a large popcorn,
oh,
got a
a
drink,
large popcorn. Oh, well, a bottle of water.
you got a bottle of water. So you did
Yeah.
well there.
Yep.
But he not only that, but we went to the dollar store beforehand. He bought 3 packages of Raisinets.
Yep.
Okay. We go to the movie theater. He gets another one.
Well, I didn't
That's,
bring in said
I
raisinets.
know, but we could have.
Yeah.
But so he got a pack of Raisinets and then 5 chicken tenders,
Yep.
right? And was that it?
No, so large popcorn, bottle of water, chicken tenders,
Yeah.
raisinets,
Yeah.
and the Airhead bites.
Oh, the Airhead bites. That's right. And I don't know how much of the popcorn you had. You said you had like a quarter of it.
Maybe a quarter of it, but it's
Okay.
also it's hard to say because the top of the bucket is larger
It's
than the bottom of
bigger.
the bucket,
Yeah.
and so like had some nice nibbles on the popcorn. I
Yeah.
had 1.5 chicken tenders. I
Yeah.
had I think the entire bag of Airhead bites,
I think
and,
so.
and I never opened the raisinets, but I took them with me.
I actually have them
They're
here.
at your house, yeah.
They're at my house. And meanwhile, I got a gigantic Coca-Cola Classic and a big bag of Twizzlers, and I had all of it. So that was a way. That's a way to like prime the system for a good effort. That's right. No,
Get the
but that was
gasoline
fun
in
too.
there.
Yeah,
It
we
was
didn't
fun.
even go to. We didn't even go to Olive Garden, Brad.
No, but we had pizza, which I feel like we had pizza pre-race night,
We did,
and garlic knots,
and garlic knots,
and fried ravioli,
and fried ravioli,
and
and we had bunches of leftovers that we
and
ate from
I always feel like Olive Garden is great before a race. So, but you give me pizza before a race, I'm just as amped. I feel like this is a perfect pre-race dinner. Or you
Yeah,
give me Chinese, I feel like that's a perfect pre-race dinner.
but we have a routine, Brad. Since
But
Richmond,
it's been broken.
it has. Now, what are we gonna do? Do we try
We're
to
gonna
bring it
find
back
out.
and revive it,
We're gonna find
or
out.
or is Olive Garden gonna take back their sponsorship?
Let's call a spade a spade. It's on life support right now.
It's
So
on life support.
if you're listening, Olive Garden, you better get in here better come back to life and give us what we want, or you're out.
Might not ever go back to you again.
Yeah, that's right.
You're lost.
So, all right, Jeremy.
All right, Bradford.
Tuesday morning.
It is. And then our episode's going up sometime today because Brad's awesome. I have a video of you finishing that I'm going to send to you too real quick after we're done.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Send it over.
Yeah.
I had to look
and
just
anyway,
studly dudley.
Hey, Bradford, guess what?
Let me think. Don't know.
I love you, man.
That's just one eyeball staring at me saying it.
It's so weird. I love you, dude.
All right, bud. Love you too. Had a lot of
All
fun
right.
this weekend, so thanks for hosting.
Yeah.
That was a good time.
Thanks for coming. Yeah, bud.
All right, bud. Thank Elliot for letting me sleep in his bed.
At the best sleep you've had.
My recovery scores were fucking off the charts. Whoop said that as like best for my health and recovery is to move to your place and sleep in Elliot's bed.
How about if I just ship you Elliot's bed? How about that?
I think it was the total ambiance. It was the being surrounded by Elliot's pajamas thrown on the floor. The copious amounts of Legos. Like there was nowhere to put my phone because there were Legos everywhere, and just couldn't move in the bed. It's a full size bed, I believe.
Yeah.
And on each side is like the most dangerous bookcases that if like I'm used to a queen size bed, so a couple of times I thought like Jeremy might wake up and it's gonna be a bloodbath in here because I hit my head on one of those bookcases and I bleed out like it was gonna be a Thanksgiving death from the movie.
I mean, that would have been a good one.
Oh wow, thanks, Jeremy.
Not your death, but the type of death. Come on.
So you wrap all that together on top of the world's smallest toilets.
Small. I don't understand why. All of them.
They're essentially like Asian toilets. It's basically a hole in the ground that you just have to hover and shit into.
A little more than that.
Those things are
like
a real quad burner.
They're like 75% of the real size.
They're the size of a child's training potty. So imagine that on the ground. Like that's how far you have to get down. Your knees are all the way up here. And then the toilet seat is so small, there's a 50-50 chance of just shitting on the back of the seat.
Oh, Brad. I mean,
so but Whoop says that's a
it's the best environment for you, Brad.
It is, yeah. So next week, goals for the new year, start putting them together.
Yep.
Doesn't have to be running related, but it should be somewhere running related.
Yeah, for sure. I'll at least say I want to run. That'll be at least one of them. Yeah.
All right, bud.
All right,
Great
dude.
race. Thanks for hosting. Love you, bud.
Love you.